All right. So when we study Mesopotamia, when we do the River Valley civilizations, it's a must that we go over the geography. And in this particular topic with Mesopotamia, the other topic that we touch on is the Code of Hammurabi. Usually, you guys have heard of this in some way, shape, or form prior to this lesson in high school. Some people have not, and that's totally fine. Code of Hammurabi is a law code. It's an ancient law code, the first written law code, actually, and it is popular with a lot of people because you guys know it as far as an eye for an eye. You know, the idea of an eye for an eye punishment comes from this law code, so that's usually where people have heard of it from. So we will kind of get right into it here. All right, so here's our slide of notes. I'll give you guys a second, copied on the subtopic and the details. We will just go over it very quickly. All right. So, if you guys remember the last set of notes that we took, we said that Mesopotamia is the name of the region of the world in that Fertile Crescent, and the name of the kingdoms there were Assyria, Akkad, Sumer, and Babylon was another one. Hammurabi was the sixth king of Babylon, so that's where we get this law code from. It's from this kingdom, Babylon, and it's from the ruler Hammurabi. So around 1754. Hammurabi decides it's time to establish some laws that will govern his kingdom, and it's time to publicize those laws and put them in places where everyone can read them and they could be known by all. So the Code of Hammurabi is a law code that consists of well over 250 different laws. And what Hammurabi did is he had servants carve all of these laws into these giant pieces of stone and display them all over in public. There's not just one. This is one that's surviving. The one shown on the slide is in the museum in Paris, France, called the Louvre, which is arguably one of the greatest museums on earth. This is the museum that houses the Mona Lisa and many other priceless works of art. And you can find an original copy of the Code of Hammurabi from the time of his rule in Babylon in this museum. It's pretty impressive. So what they did is it's tough to tell in the picture, but in very, very small, fine carvings, they carved the laws of the land into this piece of steel, this piece of stone, and they displayed these in public. So at the top of this pillar, there's an image carved in there, and that's pretty visible on the slide here. And the image is basically the Babylonian king, Hammurabi, is being handed these laws by like a sun god named Shamash. And the part of the conversation that we have in class is, why does it show the sun god handing these laws down to Hammurabi? Like, what's the point of putting that on this pillar? Isn't it enough to say, these are the laws of the land, obey them? And where that conversation eventually takes us is that the reason that this is happening this way and the reason this image is there is because Hammurabi wants the people to know that his laws should essentially carry the same weight as the word of God or the word of a God in this particular instance. So people wouldn't go around disobeying the will of a god, so therefore they should not go around disobeying the word of Hammurabi, in this case his laws. So this image by and large is put on the pillar to basically lend weight and credence and kind of legitimacy to these laws. These are not polite suggestions. You should treat them with the same respect that you would treat the word of God. So this is the oldest written law code on earth. It is the oldest form of organized writing that we are aware of also. And we will go over that, system of writing that they used in a later lesson. But for now, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the Code of Hammurabi. We're talking about this system of law. Now, when you examine laws from different places, it's there's a lot you can learn from kind of an examination of those laws. Those laws will often indicate a lot about a particular society. You can tell the social structure. You can tell kind of what their cultural values are based on a study of those of the laws of a particular society also. So let's see here. Go over here to our classwork tab. I just assigned this for you guys. So you're getting a couple different things here. First, let's go over the resource. Um, the resource here is just a one-page document. It's got the introduction where it just kind of introduces, the Code of Hammurabi, and then down here there's some actual excerpts or examples of some of the laws that were included in the Code of Hammurabi. So we said it was well over 250 laws. Here is a selection of 7 or 8 of them. So you can see if you look at 196, here's the law that a lot of people are familiar with. If a man put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out. So this is that eye for an eye kind of law. So what I'm hoping that you guys will do is you will take a look at this, some of these excerpts of the Code of Hammurabi, and you can kind of begin to break down what some of their societal values are. So if you look at the worksheet that I've shared with you, number one is kind of the discussion that we just had about why are they showing, the sun god. So you can kind of jot down some answers on that. So this is a short answer question. So the expectation here for number one is that this would be answered in complete sentences. Number two, by examining law number 8 and number 15, we can tell what different classes of people existed in Mesopotamia. Analyze these two laws to determine the different classes. So what I want you to try to do is read super critically some of these excerpts, 8 here and 15, and see if these laws give us a hint about how their society is structured. So I want you to take your best guess at that. This is not an easy task. I'll warn you right now, some of you will not have a problem with it, but it might be confusing for some of you. So I'm kind of challenging you here a little bit. So all I expect is effort. You try to figure that out, okay? Other than that, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. So basically what you are going to do is you're going to use the document attached to the assignment to answer all of these questions.